What's the difference in your mind between having a job and having a career? I want to ask this to you, the listener, because I think it's a grounded place to start to engage Christine Grimm, who's our resident speaker for Working Career, because so many of us find ourselves in gratitude for having a job, but sometimes we limit what that job represents in terms of our trajectory, the meaning of our life, how we become better at what we do, and how we can turn around and look back at the path we chose and say, wow, I've had a great career versus I had some good jobs. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this in terms of like framing. Sometimes people just are happy they have jobs. Christine Grimm steps it up for us. And as a coach for 25 years, she has worked with global teams and corporate leaders and people who are looking to be in their journey with their eyes wide open and say, okay, what can I do to move into the next level of being awesome? There are so many reasons why we limit ourselves. Some of it's imposter syndrome. Some of it's just pure luck that we might not understand why we got this job, but we got it, and now we're just kind of hanging on. But there's so many ways to step up our game. And when you're coached, you're assessed not just in terms of, your goals that you see stepping into that room, but over time you start realizing, wow, I'm in this conversation with someone like Christine and I'm realizing my potential. And that's really exciting. And I want us to look at the opportunity to be with Christine here on Swell, to challenge ourselves and say, is the status quo okay? Or can I step it up? Can I be the next version of myself professionally? Christine, thank you for being here in this kind of liquid space, because I feel like I want to make sure we don't anchor this too deeply in a direction yet, because I'm not sure what's going on for you and what you're seeing in terms of trends. And then maybe we can latch onto one of the trends that you're seeing and really start there. So that's my first question. The economy contributes to our perception of career. I know that. COVID certainly had an impact. Where we are in our individual lives in terms of family or health or other things contribute to our sense of evaluation. What are you seeing in your practice right now? What questions are people coming in with? And what's a favorite topic for you to start with when it comes to teaching and coaching people in their professional lives?
Well, to me, having a job is pretty much like having a career, but having a career is something that you're always going to have that. You know what I'm saying? But a job, to me, you could lose at any time. But that career is yours. Because there's something that you want, that you set for yourself, that you're going to make happen. Now, getting a job is working for someone who can make or break you. You know what I'm saying? So, I feel like, to me, the career is where I want to be at, because that's something that no one can take from me. Because I set out what I wanted my career and what I wanted to be and what I want to do. At any given time, that person can come into work and fire you. But when you have a career, it's something that you pursuing to make happen. So I feel like it's pretty much grounded. It's just, I would take the career road instead of having a job road, because I don't want to have that fear of am I going to get laid off? Are they going to pay me enough? You know what I'm saying? In my career, I know I ain't going to get fired. I can only fire myself because I pursued my own career, something that I wanted to do. Thanks for inviting me to your Swellcast, and I hope that was a good enough answer. Well, have a nice day. You have King Pop signing off.
Hey, Deborah. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this. So, a little nervous, but it is my first day, everybody, doing this. And yeah, thanks. I'm grateful. And I love talking about this. So let's get into it. I see that there's already people who have rung in, and I did listen to them. And I just want to say that it is a new day. So we have the ability now to think about career and job in new ways. And I want to challenge everyone to think about this. In the past, we were limited. And so I do think we're kind of in this transition period. And I don't think it's all about the pandemic. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But first of all, I think the way we historically have thought about career was that our career was our long-term aspirational path that you had for yourself, and sometimes someone helped you figure that out. Back in the day, in high school or other places, you could take a test. I think you still can, to help you decide whether you were going to go to trade school or college or just go get a job. And sometimes it was passion driven, and sometimes it was just practically driven, right? People in their family learned how to be a plumber, or they learned how to do something. But I want everybody to think about the fact that career is a longer term thing. I hope that it has something to do with your passions, not just something that is hand me down or something that you were expected to do. It's longer term. Sometimes it's around a craft that you're going to master. And I would say that about corporate careers even. You know, there are people who just want to be a leader, right? They want to be a manager. And so I think that what has changed about that part of this conversation is that, people aren't thinking as long-term as they used to about careers. I think that there's research floating out there that says people will not just switch jobs, but they'll actually switch careers. And I think some of that has to do with digital transformation and many jobs and careers being changed just by the evolution of the workplace, the evolution of the kind of work we do, the evolution of our consumer experience, right? That is changing things. So before, where it might have been even a little bit more predictable to be on what we used to call a career path. Now, again, I think this language still exists, but I'm just saying to everybody, I think there's a new way, Deborah, to think about that, right? And to start to think about who am I? What do I want to do? What is the path I think I need to be on to do what I want to do? And, maybe valuing feeling good, not just making money. I do think that's also something that's changed. And that brings me to the concept of job. Many people now, if you say, how's your career going? They might look at you and say, I don't have a career yet. I just have a job because I need to make money. And I think that has also changed. Right? The idea of job now, even though some people have to have a job to have money, the options are more expanded than they've ever been, so people don't have to be limited to their geography. You can get a job sitting at home and change jobs and never leave your house. Work on the internet, obviously, online is prolific, it's sometimes encouraged. So I do think we're in a transition, right? And Deborah, I think we can't underestimate that we also have a whole bunch of baby boomers moving out of the workplace who had a set of values around career and work and job. And as that group of people move out of not just the workplace, but power and leadership in the workplace, and as entrepreneurs or leaders in organizations, their values as that leaves or exits or changes, we have new people coming into the workplace who think about work different, who think about their jobs differently, And so, of course, they're thinking about career differently. And so we're going to see that emerge, and maybe even new language around when we think about that. And I do think longevity is going to be in question, and tenure and loyalty and all of those things. So I would love to explore more. I'm hoping more and more people are going to join this conversation with us, because I think we're creating the future right now. Hi, it's Christine. I just want to say thank you to you for participating. I love your perspective. I just want to encourage you, maybe give you a little coaching here. I love your pride in the ownership of your career. And I think you should absolutely stay with that. Your career is yours. And it is, I hope, about your passion. It's about the things that you're inspired by and that you aspire to do. And I agree with you. There is some power dynamics, right, when you have a job. But I would say to you that maybe some good thinking here that's also practical is that when you are looking for a job or taking a job, if you can, only take jobs that are a stepping stone on your career path, right? So think about what you want to do. Now, I understand sometimes that's hard to do. I've been there. I've had to have jobs that didn't necessarily overtly and obviously keep me in my career path. But the way to feel empowered, like you're in control of this and you're actually meeting your career long-term goals, is to try and be really disciplined around only working for people and in jobs that are, like I said, a stepping stone to the bigger picture for you. So I'm just going to cheer you on and say, go you, and stay away from those people and places that aren't going to help you reach your goals. Good luck.
Christine, I often get asked this question around, how do you decide when a job has become stagnant and it's really hurting your career by staying in that position? You know it's the wrong thing to do, but you really don't know what else to do, and you don't want to necessarily quit the job without having another job. And perhaps you know people like this, and oftentimes those are the people that seem to just stick around the job that they don't like for a long, long time. I can go on LinkedIn and I can point out numerous people that I see are still at the same company that they were complaining about over 15 years ago. And there's lots of reasons why people can feel stuck in either their career and stuck at a job. And oftentimes it's the people, oftentimes it's the work they're doing, oftentimes it's the industry that they're in. And if the industry is not doing well, bonuses probably aren't that great, and you sort of feel stuck in that role. But what are some of the questions that you think you should be asking yourself about your career, about your job when you're in it, and maybe aren't satisfied to the fullest?
Hey, Phil, thanks for this. And I definitely have some questions people should ask themselves if you are feeling like you're stuck or stagnant, or maybe you're afraid to leave a job that you've been at for a long time because it's kind of a comfort zone. You're with the devils that you know. And Phil, I agree with you. I know lots of people. I could also go through LinkedIn. And I know people who have been saying they wanted to quit their job for 15 years too. And it's a bummer because life is short. So if there's anybody who decides to listen to this and you want the questions, I would say there's 3. 1, just focus on a few days. And I'd love for you to just take an inventory and be very real with yourself around what you're doing every day, who you're interacting with that actually feels good. Like you feel accomplished. You feel like you are accomplishing something. You are actually adding value. You feel like your contribution is valued. Hopefully that is, if you've made little tick marks in a day, hopefully you'd have at least a few of those. The second question is, how often in my day do I feel, maybe this is more than one question. To me, it's a question, but there's a few things here. How often in my day do I feel bored? How often in my day do I feel left out? That happens sometimes when we've been in a place for a bit. Sometimes we're minimized. Sometimes we're just in a rut and people see us a certain way, and then big new things happen and we're not included. Or sometimes we are, sometimes we aren't, but it's not a consistent experience, which is maybe why it feels stagnant or stuck and you dream about leaving. How often in a day do you feel inspired or uninspired, right? You come out of a meeting, are you kidding? WTF? And then the third question is, how often are my activities and interactions draining? Like, how often are they taking energy and effort from me and giving me nothing back, right? I can't go back to those other questions I said to you. Like, I muscle through those activities, those meetings, those interactions, and the reason I'm feeling stagnant, stuck, fill in the blank, is because I'm not getting any juice back, right? It doesn't feel good anymore. And like I said, if you just treat that as like an audit and think about it maybe every day for like a week, pretty clearly you'll see the trends. And if you can be honest with yourself about that, I want to bring everybody's attention to a few things. First of all, the landscape of work has changed. If you haven't noticed, right, there is no reason anymore to stay limited, stagnant, or stuck. We're not back in the days where we were limited to jobs that were local or regional. There are tons of jobs available now, work from home, remote. I've seen some people on Swell actually who have whole threads going around how to do that, and it's fantastic. So if you are interested in making a change, you probably don't have to worry about not being able to make the same money. And I know some people look at me funny when I say that, but I promise you, I've seen more people make change since the beginning of the pandemic, actually, at every level. People who were making $15 an hour to people who were making, $600,000 a year, actually. More people making change since the early parts of the pandemic that are making more money and feeling more connected to their job. And I guess the last thing for you to think about, and maybe I'll just start a whole new thread on this. So thanks again, Phil, for throwing me the ball here. But the real question is, can you do work that is connected to something that you actually love? And what I mean by that is a product, a service that you're super interested in, because chances are most people can take their transferable skills and work for someone else. But I don't want you to just leap out of your stagnant, stuck job and just to go. I want you to go towards something, not run away from something. So like I said, I'm going to start another thread about this because I think that it's important thinking, and I know now it is possible, and you should know too. Anyway, look forward to talking to y'all on the next thread.
This is a question that's very near and dear to my heart. I once took a course as a life coach about this, about job, calling, career, hobby, what the differences were. And I remember taking away this notion that a career, the difference between a career and a job is that a career is about a calling. It's working at your calling. It's a job where you're working at your calling or your passion. I myself have not had a career until just a few years ago. I've had jobs that have helped me find my calling and therefore put me on my path to what I want is what I want as a career. But for the most part, all this time I've had jobs, meaning I work, I have a certain affinity for certain kinds of work, writing, editing, and so I've worked at those things. I've had jobs at those things, but my career as a writer and a life coach, that is the calling piece. Those are the, when I think of career, I think of calling. I think of how I want to serve, So that's my $1.50.
Chris, I am bookmarking this Swell because I want to be able to find it very quickly when anybody gives me this question in the future. And I just am really amazed at the level of simplicity and ease that you crafted this exercise that anyone can do and probably everybody should do. It is just absolutely amazing. And like you said, if you're honest with yourself, the trend should be there. It should bear itself out of exactly what you need more of, what you need less of, and where the actual issues are. I am going back in to edit my response here, and I am going to say, if you are not satisfied at your job right now, please listen to Chris above. Just absolutely great advice, Chris.
Hi, I think that this is worth more than $1.50 or whatever you just said at the end, which is, I think many people for whatever reason often have job after job after job. I myself, in the beginning of my early career, left undergrad, did not know what I wanted to do. Ended up getting, by the way, a teaching credential undergrad at Pepperdine. Not really on purpose, everybody. I hate to admit that I was not on purpose, but I wasn't. I changed my majors a few times. So if somebody listens to this and you're young and you're at this moment in time, or you're just someone who's getting their undergrad, it took me 3 degrees, undergrad switches, major changes before I knew what I liked. Then I graduated with a teaching credential and a degree and taught for 3 years, and it was highly dissatisfying. The kids were amazing, by the way, but I didn't love public education. Started to realize that I was a systems thinker. It took some trial and error. But the reason I'm saying this is that, first of all, trial and error and having jobs that you're kind of weeding out what you don't like and what you do like and where you feel you're contributing and starting to resonate with what your path could be is different than just randomly having jobs, which I know people also do, and I've done that too. So what I'm advocating for here, and I do think back to your $1.50 there, S-Flow 823 is important, right? So there are people who may feel like they, still aren't on a career path, and that's all right. Don't beat yourself up over it. Maybe go through the exercise I outlined in one of the earlier posts, which is, really getting honest with yourself about what you like to do, what fills you up, what gives you juice. I'm not kidding, everybody. Like, I just think that in this new world that we're in, where there's a lot of people who have pivoted into remote work, and so they're, isolated, whether you like it or not is not the point, is that what it's doing is it's putting us in a situation where we're doing a lot of transactional work, with technology, or even more strategic work with technology, but it doesn't always feel great. A lot of people right now who were used to working in-person jobs and really loved that, they're not getting the juice. It's not feeling the same from sitting in their house doing Zoom meetings instead of driving around and meeting with people in person. I'm not saying any of them are right or wrong. I am saying that you need the awareness to start to get real with yourself about what you like doing, not just what you will tolerate doing to make money. Because as I said before, and I'm going to keep on banging this drum, and I, again, welcome everybody to talk about this, I think that we have moved past, in most places, at least in the U.S., I know that there are third world countries where people don't have as many choices. I do work in Ghana. I've done work in Asia in third world situations. So I am not speaking to that population. I'm speaking to this population on Swell who have access and most likely have choices, that it's not okay to sit around stagnant anymore. You don't have to, because there's just too many ways for you to connect to something you actually care about and get paid doing it. So can't wait to hear what everybody else has to add. And if you're not on a career path yet, it doesn't mean that you have to just take jobs that feel like nothing to you and suck the energy out of you, or worse, your soul. Let's not do that.